Welcome to Tips Over Tea. This is season 2. I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to have great conversations with some amazing people. And I have the opportunity to hang out with you guys again, my guests. Make sure you have your tea, whether it be hot or cold, for the Tips Over Tea. And make sure you have your notebook so you can take plenty of notes. And if you're so inclined, bring a friend or two to join you. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tips Over Tea. I am thrilled to introduce you to Jill and Heather of Yoga Now in Pompano Beach, Florida. Jill, Heather, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure, I was just down in Florida, and my friend Andrea, who has also been on the show, introduced me to these wonderful ladies to do a yoga and Reiki session. So I would love to hear the story. Like, how did you guys get started working together?
That was really through my boyfriend, Rich. He came across Heather's post and really liked what she was posting on Instagram. Like you said about this, you kind of get a vibe from the internet, and he just got a really good vibe from her posts. She invited her in here, and we just hit it off like right away. I was like, oh yes, I love this lady. Right here, like she's awesome. She's real deal. And we invited her in for Reiki sessions. She does small group Reiki, 4 people max, and then also available for private Reiki. And then it was Heather's idea to do Reiki and Vinyasa for the full moon.
Love that.
And that just, it worked out so beautiful.
It did.
Beautiful, transformative experience, blending of the two, healing, which in my opinion should always be done together. You know, the Reiki is kind of the portal that unlocks the energy and improves the flow, and then makes the Vinyasa flow that much better.
I agree. I experienced it.
What was your take on it? We want to know from like your standpoint.
Yeah, I for one, Vinyasa, I never can keep up with it. And I know, and I appreciated that Jill was like, if you could keep up with my whatever, it's fine. If not, that's also fine. So that was helpful, took some of the stress off. But it was the first time, of course, that I've done it together. I hadn't done Vinyasa in a while, so trying to relax into it was a little bit of a challenge for me, because I just do like very simple yoga. It's never the flow one where I have to like keep moving. And I was like, I need to do this more often. But I felt like it was deeper with the Reiki infused in it. And there was so much that I was processing that night also, because I had done another energy type of session earlier that day. So I can't, like, it was so much going on within me. We can discuss more of that offline, but I do appreciate the combination like that. Honestly, when Andrea sent me she's like, hey, do you want to do this Friday night? I was like, when I saw the Reiki was with it, I was like, yes, that's what really gave me that I want to do that. There was no hesitation. So I could feel like more of a release, because yoga already makes me release. Like that movement is very, very healing for me. So to combine the two is just like extraordinary.
Amazing. We love that. Because that was our vision for it. You know, I was thinking in my head, you know, just as a practitioner, I'm like, okay, how do we like really make this, because the first time that we launched it was for the strawberry moon, the summer solstice. And that was a really pivotal moon. So I was like, we have to do something that's going to facilitate like the empowerment of the representation around this full moon and the summer solstice to welcome the summer solstice and all the blessings. So I had the idea, and lovely Jill she's always entertaining my wild ideas. And I'm just really glad that she was open to it, and we tried it, and it was amazing. The response was very similar to yours, of other ladies sharing their experiences, and like, wow, I've never had any kind of connection with my body like that before, and I've never been able to like go into the vinyasa so easily, just letting go and being connected. So really great to hear that.
Yeah, and the ceremony at the ocean was really nice too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Bodies of water are so crucial for spiritual cleansing and energy cleansing, and just connecting from like a wellness level, your body. We all start out as beings in water, in the womb, and the water is a great source of vitality and messages and downloads and clarity and cleansing. So
I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that, actually, especially some tips around that for people who don't live near bodies of water. But definitely, how did you get to an understanding or a knowing or a sensing that water is like a huge part of that practice and that need and that cleansing? And then how can people take advantage of that gift of water if they don't live near ocean?
Well, my practice is not probably similar to anybody else's practice as practitioners. I think we're all very unique. And just with my spiritual background and my heritage and things like that, water is sacred. It's a vitality of life. So we start as our life, our existence as water inside of our mothers. So going back to that, when you're sick, the holistic remedy is take a shower to bring it down, or take a bath to bring it down. If you're having sore muscles, what do? You go into a magnesium soak. If you're having a tough day, what do? You go take a bath and light some candles. There's a spiritual cleansing to that. In more spiritual practices, especially for intention setting and full moons, and just spiritual in general, the cleansing is a very important part, because it cleanses your energy from everything that you're exposed to in the outside world, also within your energy. It's just kind of like hitting the reset button. I don't know about you, but like, if I'm overstimulated and spiraling out of control, if my day is just kind of gotten wild, like the first thing that I want is a shower. That's me going in the shower. Or if I need to kind of stimulate like a thought process, I will go into the shower. All of my best like ideas and clarity hits me when I'm in the shower, and it's a spiritual portal for communication of your ancestors and spirit guides as well. They communicate through water. You get big downloads when you're clean, when your energy is clear. The water, the temperature, just the feeling of it. If you've ever floated in a pool or an ocean, you just feel weightless.
Yeah.
And that's the spiritual tie to it. It's that mind-body connection. It's just zapping everything. So that's what it means to me. What about you, Jill?
Yeah.
Water to me, again, the element of flow and just clearing the channels so the energy does flow. And water itself, as Heather said, is clearing. We all know that from the shower, like she said, from a rainstorm. Like sometimes I love to walk in just like a rain. It's like,
yeah, me too.
Feels so cleansing.
And the smell of the earth too.
And the smell of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That.
Getting back to nature elements, is part of the spiritual practice, and also part of grounding and connecting, the mind-body axis.
And embodying that flow, right? Like the whole thing of life is flow. The whole thing of yoga and Reiki is energy flow. Water flows. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And then we know what happens. Like it stagnates, and it's not healthy when water is stagnating. So
you get mosquitoes. At least down here.
Yeah. Oh, here too. Oh my goodness. I know I was in Hawaii last year, and I did a hike trying to go to a waterfall, but it hadn't rained lately. So by the time I got there, you could see there was no waterfall, and it was just stagnant water. I was like, I am not going in that. Because, like at the bottom of the the waterfall is like usually a pool that you can go in. So there was water there, but I was like, that water has not moved. I don't know what has grown. We need to get it moving.
And whatnot. Yeah. So that's why And plus, with the yoga studio literally being steps from the beach, Joe really has a beautiful location here. When she's here, I'll let her tell you the story, but it's divine.
Yeah,
it really is a divine placement for her. Everything she represents, her practice, and then me coming in to join the family, join the tribe, and adding that piece to it, and then just being able to walk to the beach and just have that part of our ceremony. So, back to what you said, how people that don't live near those bodies of water can do that. Foot baths, foot soaks in a bucket, showers, baths, magnesium baths, if you can tolerate magnesium. Just cleanse yourself. Hydrosol water in the face whenever you're feeling nervous or emotional. Rose hydrosol is very calming as well. And it's very natural. And you can make your own rose hydrosol too. You don't have to buy it. But so just, immerse yourself in the methods that you can. A pool is a good idea, even if it's indoor, whatever, it's water. Yes. So make yourself weightless.
One thing that you brought to my attention that I had forgot, and Heather brought to my attention, and then like a week later, I came across an article talking about moon tea and sun tea.
Yeah.
Literally getting a mason jar of water.
Have some in the fridge.
Out in moonlight. And doing the same thing with the sun, like putting some tea, loose leaf or bags in a pitcher of water, letting it sit out in the sun, and getting that energy of the moon or the sun through water.
Good point. Actually, during our summer solstice celebration, I actually made sun tea because the summer solstice was a celebration of actually the sun, not really the moon. But it's both in tandem because the sun is masculine and the moon is female. So, making sun tea or getting sun water and then getting moon water, which I did on the beach, and it was so magical. I still have it, and I use it in my tinctures, my treatments, and things like that. But yes, that's a really great point. Getting that energy charged water from nature, from the moon and the sun is a really great point, Jill.
Yeah, I love that. I got
it. Like so long ago, and like one of those things you just forget, like moved, environment, out of routine, forgot all about it until she brought it to my attention. I was like, oh, duh. Like,
thanks for remembering that I did it. It's a routine for me, part of my life. Like, I don't think about it, but I'm like, oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Cool thing that's so powerful. Like you really feel the essence.
Literally,
of the moon and the sun. And it's just like, wow, I'm drinking. This is infused with moon energy, with sun energy. Like, give me more, please.
Yep. I made some the other day. I just stuck just filtered water and tea bag in the jar and just let the sun steep it for me. And and I use it sometimes as a base for my smoothies as well.
Yes. And hair, rosemary is a great one for your hair too. So you put some dried or fresh rosemary in filtered water and put it out in the sun and let it steep, and then you can use it to wash your hair.
I love that idea. That is good. That is a good
rose petals too. I do it all the time. Rose water. That's cool. Rose water, literally.
That's cool. I had
roses and rose petals to make the hydration.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Good tips.
Chamomile too, put chamomile and jasmine leaves and let it steep. Lemon, make your own lemon tea.
I love that. Can't go wrong with that. Nature supports us. So
yeah, she does.
And that's the disconnection that we have, in society and why people are in like an emotional of turmoil and disconnect with their body because they are not connected with nature.
Yeah.
So it's that point going back to the elements. Are you putting your bare feet in the soil? Are you appreciating the rainstorms? Are you getting out in the sun? Are you bathing by the light of the moon? Are you breathing fresh air, or is it just recycled air from inside? Are you getting the fluorescent synthetic light? Or are you getting sunlight? It's those things that we need to remember that, we are earth beings. And, we came from earth.
Yeah.
And so that's what you need to get back to truly go home.
Yeah.
Opinion.
Yeah. And because I live, in the DC area, so it's really go. Like, but I remind people, Yeah, put your feet in the grass from time to time. And the crystals help to just kind of remind people that, you know, there's nature out there. See, I got crystals on my desk. Like,
Yes, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Such great transmuting vessels, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really like have to do anything. They sit there and they transmute, and it's the power behind it. And your energy is important. Energy exchanges are everywhere, and being mindful, having that mind-body connection with your own energy to know when something doesn't feel right. And you know, that's, for me, that's where it starts. That's like the core of my practice. And I know for Jill too, you know, connecting with yoga is like creating that emotional release and just being present with yourself. Don't worry about what happened in the past. Don't worry about what's, you know, don't anticipate the future, because that's where anxiety lives, in anticipation. Be present right now, because this is a moment that you're not going to ever have back in your life. No matter how bad it is, no matter how good it is, be present in the moment and kind of take like those core memory snapshots. Everybody just gets in the habit of whipping out their phone and recording memories, but you're not really experiencing it from a somatic level. Yeah,
that is very true. Yeah, I've noticed that too when I went to the Grand Canyon. I did take some pictures, but after a while I was like, now I'm like really here and I can really feel it. It was really, really cold too. This is February. It was snow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But I still loved it.
Yeah.
Jill, how did you get involved with yoga and then find your studio? And I'd love to hear that story.
I found yoga through a running injury. I was a pretty competitive runner through college, and I ran semi-professionally, sponsored by Fila, for a year out of college. And that's when I tore a hamstring, because I never stretched. Like, runners don't really stretch. We do like the quick 1-2 forward fold, quad stretch, and you're out the door. Like, you really don't stretch. So I pulled a hamstring, and the chiropractor who I was working with to heal this injury, he suggested yoga, and I was like, maybe. And then a girlfriend of mine, at the time I was managing a gym up north, and she was a Pilates teacher there. And she's like, you know, I really think you'd like hot yoga. She's like, I think it'd be a good thing for you with your injury. And I was like, you know, you're like the second person now. Like, Dr. Michaud, like, he just suggested that to me. Now you're saying this, like, okay, like, I'll go check out yoga. And here I am, like, you know, a competitive runner, running 20 plus miles a day sometimes, like, thinking like, who needs yoga, you know? I'm like, let me go check it out. And I was just like, wow, like completely humbled. I was amazed at all the people in the room. My first experience was in a Baptiste studio at Cambridge. Baron Baptiste is a pretty globally known teacher. And he doesn't have them anymore, but he had 3 studios up north. The original ones in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that's where I was taking class. And just like a room full, like it was like 50, 60, maybe even 70 people who all seemed to know exactly what to do. And here I am, had zero clue. I'm like, I could barely, you know, bend over, never mind, like touch the floor. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you want my foot up there? Like, but I was just so mesmerized by the practice and the energy, right? We talk about energy. Like, I walked into the studio and I felt something, like just like the teacher was spot on. So in her own flow teaching, and I could pick up on that. And that just, I was instantly hooked. I was like, I need more of this in my life. Like, my body needs it for one, but like my mind and my heart, I could tell like it was like starting to tap into that part of me that I never really had tapped into. And just one class, like just spoke to me in so many ways. So I ended up showing up as a student, like day in and day out, and eventually did the Baptiste assistant training, which is learning just to assist bodies in the room. Then I went on and did 3 more trainings with Baron. I taught for all 3 of his studios. I got trained by him just like as a group of teachers working for him. He would come in. He lives in Utah, but he would come in every now and then and just work with us as teachers. I didn't really realize the training I got until not being there. And I came here to Florida to caretake for my grandparents. And when my responsibilities were done with them, I was like, okay, like, what now? I was not looking to open a studio. But again, Rich, my boyfriend, we were out one night for a walk and happened to walk by this space that is now our studio. He saw this little tiny sign in the window. And I was like, hey, let's go check this out. And it's like 9:30 at night. It was after like a Christmas event the town had. We just kind of kept walking through this beautiful night. And I'm like peering in this window, and all I see is a floor. So I'm like, oh my gosh, these floors are like beautiful. Like it's calling to be a yoga studio. And that was kind of it. Here we are.
That is awesome.
And you should see her like position people's bodies. It's like, it's amazing. Like she just truly just goes in, and if somebody is like out of alignment, she is quick, like an eagle, just move in and just make sure that they're in position so they can actually connect with the movement. Because if you don't connect with the movement, it's essentially
yeah, and connecting with like your center, like that's what was so helpful for me. Like when I was a student at the Baptiste studios, and all these assistants they had, because their classes were huge. They always had a couple assistants in their room, and I was so brand new. I had zero clue what was going on, and the assistants were such a help to me. Like, oh, that's where that hip needs to be. And then like making that connection, like Heather just said, and like this aha moment in your brain, like so you're getting that mind body connection. Your brain's like, oh, that's square hips, and now I'm feeling much more connected and supported in my body to actually lengthen through the pose now versus just kind of do as much as I can just to stabilize myself in the pose. So I also have a physical therapy background, so I have a lot of anatomy training. And because I know what the assistant training did to my body and how helpful it was in finding my center, and just from my anatomy background and knowing how important it is to have your body aligned properly to distribute stresses more evenly through each joint, so no one joint is wearing more than another, I just have a knack for alignment. That's just my thing. That's what I'm kind of trying to create the studio. Most of my teachers, not all of them, but the majority of them are trained to assist bodies. They've had extensive training, some of them more than others. So I'm trying to make that, because I don't know if it's just a COVID thing or maybe a South Florida thing, but people just don't assist around here. So, and like I have so many people that come in and tell me like, oh my gosh, your assistant, like that just helped me out. I felt it in a way I've never felt it before. And like, again, just seeing that aha moment in their bodies, in their brain, in their whole energy field, their whole energy field lights up when they make that connection.
Yeah.
To your training too, because I've encountered a lot of like yoga practitioners who they're not like into it. It's not their sole mission. With Jill, it's like completely different. Like you can feel like this is her purpose. Her background and her education up to this point and her experience, she embodies the spirit of her journey, and she wants to pay that forward to others just as it helped her heal. She wants to heal others, and I think that's the most important thing. We were talking before the recording started about like a vibe. Everything in life is an energetic reaction. It's an energetic exchange. So when you walk in, you just know that you're in your place, you're in your tribe based on the vibe that you're feeling. And she does her best to make sure everybody feels a part of the tribe and welcome from the very start. And her attention to detail and the way that she cares for people and the posture and that connection to yoga it's different. The energy is different, and it's part of the reason why like I walked into yoga studios, and I turned my butt right back around. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I was in it for like the money, and especially down here, I find that a lot of yoga studios are very cliquey and very just kind of like, I'm just not with that vibe.
No, neither am I. And that's like I attribute all that to my training, really. I mean, Baron Baptiste is a phenomenal teacher. He comes from lineage. There's lineage, like Heather knows. Like lineage it's sacred. It's transmuting energy from centuries ago to now. And that's just been ingrained in my nervous system. Like yoga affects your nervous system. Like you get to your cells. I was a mess starting yoga between a beat up runner, anorexic runner, a neuromuscular disorder as a child that I struggled with moving, and I just moved through all that. My hamstring healed. I suddenly gained 50 pounds and moved my mental space out of that negative hole of anorexia into like a healthy space of loving food and enjoying food and wanting to share food. Whereas before I was like, I didn't want to be around food. I didn't want to be with people with food. And really, it was the energy I was feeling. That's what drew me back to the studio over and over. Like I knew like there's something here deeper than just the physical asana, because anyone can do physical asana, right? Like we see it everywhere. There's a million yoga studios all over the globe, and anyone can do physical asana. But when you're attuned to your breath for one, and a studio or a style supported by or rooted in a lineage, it's just like 10x the yoga practice.
Yeah.
And that's what kept drawing me back when I first started. Like this was an energy that I was feeling in the studio. I was trying to feel in myself that helped me draw myself out of this really dark rut I was in. The light.
I love that. Yeah, when I walked in there, I did not feel out of place. I didn't know any of you, and it felt great when I walked in the studio. I was like, hey, I like it. So
great.
I appreciate that you've cultivated that type of space. I love that you've been through the training that you've been through, and it's definitely sounds like it's something that where you are needed.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you answered that calling, and that you two have met each other and are blessing people so much with the work that you do. We've got like just under 4 minutes to go to the close of the show. So is there anything that you would like to just share, any tips or any last minute thoughts that come to mind for you two?
Yeah.
I guess tip wise, one thing to me when you're beginning a yoga practice, look for a studio where the teacher makes eye contact with you, or the front desk person, because there's definitely a lot where I've experienced where the teacher is doing the practice with you, their back is to the class the whole time, and it feels very disconnected. Like, yeah, you're gonna get a great physical practice, awesome, you're gonna get a great workout, so to say, but there's so much more to yoga, and I feel like that's being a little bit lost in this culture, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to keep that going and allow people to experience yoga beyond just a physical workout. So that's my tip, like, you know, eye contact, it's so essential, and like vibe, as we've just been talking about, like when you walk into the studio, do you feel welcome? Like you felt welcomed? Like and as you said, there's been studios I've walked into, like, oh, I don't want to come back here. Like it either has a smell or it's just the vibe. The vibe is like not warm. It's not welcoming. You can tell that like there's a little bit of a click, and you're kind of like not really my vibe.
Yeah.
So always, you know, trust your gut, right? That's what we're training or teaching in general. Like trust your gut.
Yeah.
You know, embrace your journey. No matter why you're starting it. You know, your wellness journey. You've got to connect with the whys of your wellness, right? You got to connect with those things and understand why you're doing it. And if none of those answers start with you, then it's probably not going to be successful. You've got to be your number one why.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it for your kids, your family, to be a better spouse, to be a better person, you know, to be a better parent. But if you don't prioritize yourself and view it as selfless instead of selfish, you know, it will never work. You know, any kind of practice that you go into, there's got to be a level of commitment, understanding, and there is no expiration date. You know, I say that ascension in life is lifelong. As long as you remain a student of life and that mentality, and don't act like you already know, you know, don't, you know, have those self-limiting thoughts and behaviors into your life, like, oh, I already know this, or oh, I've got the degree, I know everything. You know, if you remain a student of life, you'll always be learning and always be enriched and always be humbled and always, you know, just be ascending. And, you know, that's a whole other topic of conversation, but, you know, always take your ego out of it. Just accept things for as it is and feel the energies, and you'll know when you're in the right space. And, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorite as well. Awesome.
Yeah, Heather said, just to piggyback quickly on her, looking at it as selfless versus selfish. Like one of my teachers said, like you're being selfish and taking care of yourself, but essentially to be selfless.
Yeah.
To give back. Yeah, but you have to give to yourself first, fill your cup. And it's not from a selfish space. It's so that you can continue to give out and be selfish.
To the level that you would like. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, they always use the airplane analogy with the put your mask on first.
Yeah,
well, if your cup is dry, how can you quench the thirst of others?
Absolutely.
And that's how you have to, it's a very clear analogy that really kind of hits home for people. Like your child is thirsty, but you have nothing to give them because you have poured everything out of yourself.
With that Love it. Great analogies, great points, great tips. I really appreciate you ladies. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in for today. I'm sure you got some great tips and you see these beautiful ladies. So make sure when you're in Pompano Beach, you just stop by Yoga Now and enjoy a session with Jill or Heather or whatever's going on. You'll like it, I'm sure. So make sure you stop by there. And thank you again. And we will see you next time. Ciao for now.
Yeah, thank you. Namaste.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you enjoyed the show and got a lot of good information. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell so you know when we air again. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week.